Hi, this is Christy Robinette, and I did a spirit circle or a supper with the spirits about a week ago. And after those events, I tend to have a lot of visitors that come with more messages. So I don't necessarily close the circle. I continue to allow them to come through with the messages as long as it's of the higher good and it is a higher vibrational energy. Now, when I open the circle, it's not always just connected to the people that bought tickets. A lot of times it can be people that are connected to me in some way, shape, or form, whether it's social media or um, follows me on my newsletter or what have you. That there's some connection that's there. So I have a handful of spirits that I would like to pass along the message to, and I always say that you shouldn't overthink it. So if I give a name or if I give a description and yet I give another piece of that description and that description doesn't fit the person that is in your life on the other side, I don't want to ever make it fit. Although I do believe that we receive messages from those messages. And the universal message here and on the other side is of love and peace. And so you're going to hear me say that a lot, that they send their love. We do hold regrets and we can hold resentments on the other side too. It's not common, but we can. We have the same personality that we have here. So if we were a grumpy person here, we're going to be a grumpy person on the other side. If we are an outgoing, very chatty, talkative person here, that's how we're going to be on the other side. Now, once in a great while, I will have somebody that comes through that was not the greatest communicator or was not a chatty person here, and they get to the other side and they pass along messages that are it's just coming, it's constant, or they say I love you and I'm proud of you, but that wasn't their personality. And so they kind of went through their angel boot camp and they've gotten it. So we can grow there, we don't change there. So I have a list of people and I'm going to go back and forth between these lists. And I hope that you enjoy this. And if you do not get a message, please do not think that you are not loved. I do take those messages from those souls, from those spirits that typically are the most loudest for me. So it could be that your loved one just didn't get up to the front of the line. And it doesn't mean that you are, like I said, that you are unloved. It just simply means that it wasn't their time at that moment to share the message. So here we go. Let me see if I can find my notes. So the first person that I have on my list, she said her name was Kim, and she said she passed away at home with her family all around her. She kind of had like a blondish brown hair. I want to say she had brown hair, but maybe had blonde highlights. And she had the biggest, brightest smile. She kept showing me daisies, and so she either liked to garden or she just loved daisies. And she showed me that October, the number 10 was important. And she just wanted, I mean, she was like kicking it up on the other side and doing really, really well. I kept getting some stomach issues with her, so there could have been stomach cancer or that region of the abdomen. I had a Michelle, and she said, or Shelly, Michelle, she said that she hadn't been gone too long, so that's typically my year to 2 year mark. She also said that she had cancer and that she had cancer for several years. April, or the number 4, is important, and she wanted me to let her family know that she is watching over her grandbabies, and she said that in the plural. There might even be one coming. Um, but she was just also kind of an outgoing person who was a fighter. So this cancer that she had, the way that she showed it was that it was like in this spot, and then she thought she fought it there, and then it came back into another spot, and it just kept progressing. There was a younger girl, I wanted to say she was like in her mid 20s, like my daughter's age, and she said her name was possibly Nicole, or there was a that one I put a question mark with the name. Um, she also didn't feel like she was gone that long, and she kept saying she was sorry and she tried real hard, but the drugs won. And she showed that it wasn't on purpose. She didn't show me suicide in the form of that she meant to do anything, but she showed that for a couple of years, I'd say like 5 or 6 years actually, that she was allowing herself to get in with the wrong crowd, and that she became addicted to one form of drug, and then it became another form of drug. Now, sometimes they show me substance abuse, that drug, as being connected to also alcohol, but this she was actually showing me possibly prescription drugs and possibly something else a little bit harder like heroin. She said she never could quite get her heart to stop hurting as much as she had this family dynamic around her that loved her. She had long dark hair, just a beautiful, beautiful girl, super smart. And it again, um, just came from, just when your heart hurts, sometimes you don't want your heart to hurt, and you patch. And I feel like that's kind of what happened to her, that it was done in a very innocent way. She went to a party or her friends handed her something, and this was done again like a long time ago, and then it finally caught up to her. So, um, then there's a lot of people. I have a lot of people here. There was a Trudy, and Trudy showed herself as being African American. She had short, like brown hair. It was straight, and she showed herself as being, I'd say, maybe in her late 60s, early 70s, but she had like a 19, like a 50, 40, 50s vibe about her. She showed me her heart, so there would have been some heart or cardiovascular issues. And she showed that she was also a very hard worker, that she showed me a wedding ring off and put back on. So that's my sign that she was more than likely married twice, or she had two loves. And she showed herself as just being a very hard worker. She showed herself wearing kind of a suit, like a business suit. So she was someone that was very educated, and but she might have even been in the teaching type of field, or she was just a teacher. She was like, she was amazing. And she showed that she was worried about her son. And she showed her son as just having a really tough time. And she said that she was with the family. Um, she was also having a fun time vacationing on the other side as well. And she showed her mom with her. And I almost feel as if her mom might have passed after she passed. So she shows that she was taking care of her, and it was a sweet. It was sweet. There was a excuse me, a Mel or a Melvin, and he looked like he had a bunch of hair. It looked like it was like whitish or gray. Said that he missed his wife, and he showed himself as being very kind of distinguished looking. Um, he said that Walter was with him, and so I don't know if that was a brother or if it was a dad or a dad-in-law, but he kept showing that he also fought really hard, and he felt really bad that he left his wife because they had a lot of plans. There was a Robert, excuse me, and Robert kept showing me a boat. So he liked water, lived by the water, was up north, something along the lines of that. Um, he also showed me that he had a son that was named Robert, but I don't feel like it was a junior or a senior. And I almost feel as if that Robert had also passed away, or Bob, and shows that he was kind of his family dynamics was a bit um difficult, I guess is how he kept. I put difficult next to his name, so a little dysfunctional. I guess. But he also came across as like he raised really good kids. He was really proud of his kids. It was either him or his son who passed from a heart attack, and it looked very sudden. And my cat is trying to drink my water. Then there was a Debbie or Deborah, and she looked to be like in her late 40s, early 50s. And she showed herself as having a bunch of different operations or a bunch of different treatments, but it felt like it was different than just cancer treatments. So there was something more that was going on. I don't know if she ended up with like a septic or if she ended up having an error with regards to the surgery, but she was not happy because she felt like she didn't get the preparation to like say her goodbyes, and she was a tied up type of a person, meaning that she liked to not leave things unsaid or undone, and she felt really badly that people had to like go through her stuff and organize her house, and that she didn't have the will or the estate done, and so she was very not happy about that. And she wasn't blaming anybody. She wasn't like claiming malpractice or anything. She just kept showing me that it was like an error that ended up happening. And she showed me a hospital setting. So then there was a Edith. Edith showed herself in like the early, I'd say she was probably, well, she kept telling me 80s. So I don't know if she passed in the 80s or if she was in her 80s or maybe both. But that seemed to be important. Um, she showed herself as being kind of a feisty lady, a little bit sarcastic, maybe even cutting. Um, Critical, and she kept apologizing for that. Although it was interesting because her personality had not changed. So she wasn't the most patient lady. She was a loving person, but she just wasn't the most patient person. Then I keep messing up my screen. Sorry. There was a Stephen, and Stephen felt like he kept telling me he was worried about his daughter and kept showing me that the two of them had a really strong bond, and that again kind of mentioned a dysfunctional family, and that he wasn't there in order to be that buffer anymore, and kept saying that he was there, he just wasn't there in that way, shape, or form. He had a dog with him, so he had kind of a medium to large size dog with him. And he was a really nice guy, very together. There was, this is gonna sound a little bit strange, but stay with me here. There was a younger guy that came through, and he said his name was Fox. So he was a little bit rougher on the edges. He kept showing me tattoos down his arm. Um, Biggest heart ever though, but he looked like that motorcycle, dude. That stereotype of that, Sons of Anarchy kind of a guy. He said he passed away unexpectedly though. It might have been a car accident or a motorcycle accident. He wasn't showing me anything like he was murdered or killed or, anything kind of crazy like that. Um, I don't really think his name was Fox though, but maybe it was a last name, probably a nickname. I kept asking him, what his real name was, and he was like Fox. So I wrote down Fox. So Fox said that he was watching over a baby girl. So, and it felt like it might be a granddaughter that he was watching over. So he also showed me that he had several people with him, several buddies with him that had passed away. One that had passed away in a hunting accident. Now, I didn't get to actually have the conversation with this person. It was more of like Fox giving me the information for the people. I just thought of this. So Fox, wasn't that the name of the guy in X-Files? Maybe he just liked X-Files. I don't know. Sorry. Got my thought off train. Um, And so he just kept saying that he had a bunch of buddies with him, and that he was watching over all of them too. There was a James, there was an Evelyn. Neither of them gave me a lot of information. Um, Evelyn was on the quieter side. James just looked at me like I was crazy, so he would have been a big skeptic. John came through. He said that he had Parkinson's disease, and he showed me a flag. So there was a possibility that he was in the military. He said that he was watching over his kids and that he was okay. There was a Beverly. She didn't say too much either. There was a Shirley that came through. She showed me a rosary, so she would have been Catholic. Very bright spirit as well. There was a Denise. She kept showing me that she loved flowers. She might have worked with flowers. Um, Showed me that she had been in a lot of pain previous to her passing away, but she was doing okay. Um, she like a sign even. I felt like she was bringing flowers to her family. There was a Lyle, and he kept showing me a crest. So there might have been importance with the last name or the heritage, like Irish or English or something like that. He showed me a flag too with an eagle on it, and this felt more like a union, like a Teamsters union or some type of um a membership type of a union. He also showed me that he liked to kind of go exploring. So he showed me like flea markets or garage sales and kind of perusing through the tables and looking for finds. So he did say he left a lot of junk to his family to have to go through, but he enjoyed the time that he had to go through all of that here living. Um, there was a Betty, and she was holding a baby. So she showed me that there had been a baby that passed away and didn't feel like the baby had passed away. It hadn't been that long. So she said that she was taking care of the baby and that there would be another baby that would be coming. Would not be a reincarnated baby, but it would be um, a gift. She kept saying something about a relationship, like the relationship had to be okay and that the relationship wasn't okay. That I'm thinking that it had something to do with the parents of the baby. Um, Either Rod or Rad. And there was something to do with either Ukrainian or Russian, or I kept hearing that type of an accent around him. He was fun. He had a big sense of humor. Like he came across very like stoic and very sober, but he was a very he was kind of a fun guy. Terry, who showed himself as a male, and the older I get, the younger they look, to be perfectly honest. So when we go to the other side, we're the age that we were the most happiest because we're really not a physical being. So we really don't have brown hair or blonde hair or highlights. But that's how, if they want to come through that way, that's the way that it makes them feel good. So I always ask them to come through in the way that they're most recognizable. So if mom passed away when she was 80, she's going to come through as she was 80, but that doesn't mean that she's 80 years old on the other side. But so when I describe it, it's the way that you would most effectively um, recognize them. So the so Terry was a male, so it would have been Terrence maybe, and he showed himself as being kind of just a very like a hard worker too, a very happy-go-lucky type of a guy. He also showed that he had grandkids. He looked to be in his like 50s, 60s, and but he looked young as well. So he had that youthful spirit about him. Had a great laugh, and he made people laugh. There was a Gertie, there was a Zena, there was a Janice, And Janice had something to do, she kept showing me J, 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 J. So, like, I don't know if everybody in the family was named with a J. She said that she had cancer. And so either her kids were with a J or her siblings were with a J. But there were a lot of J's that she kept showing me. And she is definitely still a part of the family. Like, she was kind of the glue, the matriarch of the family, and she wanted to make sure that they knew that she was still keeping tabs on them in a good humble way. Um, there was also a Henry or a Hank, and he came through and he showed himself as kind of being up north. He showed me pine trees all around, and that he was enjoying his heaven in the way that he enjoyed his retirement. And he showed me that. There was a Sarah that came through. She looked younger to me, 30s, and she may have been in the healthcare field. And she said that she passed away unexpectedly as well, might have been an auto accident, something that was just very fast. There was another female who did not give me her name, and she showed me that she had like 2 or 3 kids, might have even just had a baby, and she showed that she passed from a possible brain aneurysm, and that she had had a history of migraines, and um, thought that it was just another migraine, and ended up passing away, like kind of like went to sleep and didn't wake up. So she had, I want to say she's been gone for probably over 5 years, but she was still like agitated. Something to do with her husband may have just gotten married. So she kept showing me a ring, and the ring was important. Then there was a female, and she said that her name was maybe, I want to say maybe Natalie. And there was something to do with someone had just had their first confirmation, and she was with them during their first confirmation. And there was a David. And David showed himself as having diabetes, having a lot of sugar issues, and there may have even been like a foot amputation. And then he showed himself as steadily declining constantly, and that he wasn't taking care of himself. He wasn't an alcoholic, but he did show that, he would go to a party and he would every once in a while have a drink, which not all of that was a no-no, especially with like the possible amputation. Still felt like that, or I'm just completely numb on my foot. When they go to the other side, they don't have that either. It's just again for validation purposes. There was a Mitzi that came through, and Mitzi was this, showed herself as like maybe a larger lady, but petite. So she might have had either some stuff with her belly, some digestive issues like a celiac or a gluten intolerance, because she kept saying that she felt swollen when she passed away. Um, there was another male that showed himself as being taken off of life support. He looked to be in his 40s, and he showed himself as being, I did not get a name with him, to be perfectly honest. I almost wanted to call him Michael, but I really honestly I wasn't sure what his name was. And he just kept saying that he wasn't coming back, and that taking him off of life support was the right thing. He had kids, he had very great kids, he had a great wife, and he felt like he never told them how much he appreciated everybody. Um, he was really feeling kind of down about that on himself. And it kind of makes you think again, those of you in the Metro Detroit area, we lost a local reporter whose name is Ron. And he was somebody that, if you saw him on TV or on the streets or at an event or a charity event or whatever, he had this very outgoing, just want to sit down and chat with type of a personality. Just a really easy going type of a personality. It was easy to love him. And it was easy to like feel part of his family. Um from the TV screen to your living room. And yesterday, he apparently had a tragic heart attack. I think he was in his early 60s. And so it reminds you that there really is no guarantee for tomorrow. There's no guarantee for tonight. You have right now. You have right this second. And the ability to, what energy are you sharing? What energy are you participating in? Because there's no guarantees, there's no warranties that you're going to be here to be able to say the things that you want to say to the people that you love, the person that you might be fighting with, but you love them anyhow, to taking a trip to where you want to go because you're going to think that you'll do it next year. Um it's it's another reminder that how mortal we really are. And so it was kind of an awakening for me again last night. As much as my life is consumed around death, but I try to make it more about the living on the other side rather than the despair of it all, because I do see them participating in things and continuing their path with their loved ones here. As much as we might forget that because we're such visual creatures that if we're not seeing them or hearing them or sitting across from them, it's not that they've gone away, but we grieve that physicality. So I guess what I'm just saying is just another reminder that life is too short, and that I hope that you spend some time, especially today is a new moon, and I hope that you spend some time looking at the things that you aren't just wishing for, but the things that you want to go after, and the things that you need to say, and the things that it's all about love. It's all about peace. It's all about love. And if you're participating in something other than that, that is, up to you. But I hope that you look at where your priorities sit. And and on that note, I believe in you and I send you love today. And I hope that you know that I honestly mean that.